Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, and it's Tuesday on this show. You know what that means. Boy, have we got a lot to talk about here today. Yes, we're going to talk about Raw to Netflix. Yes, we're going to talk about all of the surrounding news. The Rock is now on the TKO board, and everything else. But before we get into all of that, I just do want to make mention very quickly, because I was very sad to hear this, that Harold Hoag, Ice Train, has apparently passed away. DDP posted on Instagram. So sad to hear. One of my closest brothers is gone. Harold Hoag, a.k.a. Ice Train, a.k.a. Smooth, a warrior, one of the kindest people I've ever known. Our 30-year relationship filled with laughter and brotherhood. We were always there for each other. Our families are one family. One of my fondest memories was the Christmas the two of us headed into the inner city to help many of the less fortunate families have a better Christmas. As you can see, we got our favorite Christmas outfits, headed out to spread some cheer. Also included one of my favorite pictures of H and my mom Sylvia at Paige and my wedding. I'll put up a tribute video later next week. Don't have the strength to do it yet. So, very sad to hear. Ice Train, he never really got that big break or anything like that, but I very much enjoyed him. We played the theme music here on the show many, many times, and just sad to hear about the passing of Ice Train. I think he was in his early 60s. I don't have his exact age at this moment, but very, very sad to hear, so all the best to his family and friends. So as noted, a lot of other news to talk about here today. If you want to email about Ice Train, you're welcome to, or anything else. You can email me, f4wonline@gmail.com. Text me, 425-780-7566. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. At Bryan Alvarez on the X. A lot to get into after the break. Observer Live.
Thank you for coming. Let's enjoy the Lucha Libre class. Faster. Knees on the chest. Check. On the mat. Same thing to the back rope. Grab your legs, your knees. When you go down, help yourself pushing your knees to the back. So one more time. Pretty much the same. First the knees, and after the hands. So we go over his head, and we go. Okay? This is one. Oh, this is the other. I know, but he's like that. I know, but he's like that. Everybody stay there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Nice. One more to this one. One, better. Let's do better. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, so now put your head in and your back is rolling in the ring, okay?
Okay.
After, hold your knees. 1, 2, 3. Get in your... One more. Come on, you got it.
You got it. Come on, Brian, you got it.
Holding the ropes every whole time. So any accident, you hold yourself. You'll be safety holding the ropes. Because the ropes could break it. So you can... That helped me to Grab, twist, and push your weight over his body.
It is your Ice Train theme. Love that song. All the best to the friends and family of the Ice Train who passed away here today. And, yeah, if you have thoughts on him, you're welcome to send in messages. I don't know what we're going to get to today because there's a lot. For the first time since its inception, Raw will be leaving traditional cable, moving to Netflix as part of a new decade-long TV rights deal that also has international components. WWE announced the news Tuesday, stating the new era will kick off January 2025. While Variety initially reported the deal is worth $400 million annually and believed to run more than 5 years, both CNBC's Alex Sherman, Sports Business Journal, reported the deal is for 10 years and more than $5 billion in total. Raw will not just be seen in the U.S., also Canada, the U.K., Latin America, and other countries and regions over time, according to the release. Part of the deal, Netflix will become the primary home outside of the United States for WWE shows like Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, in addition to premium live events, documentaries, original series traditionally seen on WWE Network. That element also begins in 2025. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics noted TKO SEC filings could see the deal be as short as 5 years or as long as 20, depending on what Netflix wants. Adding some additional intrigue is the current NBCU deal expires in October 2024, leaving a question of where Raw will air between that time and when the Netflix deal begins. I actually don't think it's 20 years. I think it's 15. I think what's going on is they've got a 10-year deal, but in 5 years, Netflix can either cancel or they can extend 10 years, meaning 10 years from the 5 years, I think. But one way or the other, that's a long time. And as we talked about, we did a breaking news update, Wrestling Observer Radio, and, they were not making close to what they're making now 15 years ago when they signed that deal around 2010. So that's an awfully long time to be locked into a deal, which is what this is. I did think there was a very good chance they were going to go to Amazon Prime, because Amazon Prime is trying to get into this streaming, sports, etc. business, and I thought they would throw a lot of money at WWE. I even thought $500 million a year, and as it turns out, they're instead going to be doing Netflix. And the Netflix deal, as noted, starts in January 2025, which means like the October, November, and December editions of Raw. I mean, we may not have a Raw for 3 months. I'm sure we will. But as of right now, there won't be a home for Raw during that short period. So, they could buy time. They could, sign a deal to extend a few months on the USA Network. I mean, there's a lot of different things that they could do.
Put it on the WWE Network.
Yeah, I'd argue against that, but you could. But at the end of the day...
I wouldn't, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
But at the end of the day, it is a giant deal. The stock was up substantially. About an hour ago, it was still up $10 a share. And that's the main news. WWE going to Netflix. Raw. SmackDown, of course, will still be on the USA Network. And the NXT show will be on the CW. So now we know. What this means for AEW? Right now, nothing. Except, obviously, if Raw had gone to WBD, that would not have been good. And I'm not saying that WBD would not have picked up AEW. Maybe they would have, maybe they would not have. But they would have a lot less money to throw at another wrestling show. Well, now they don't have to worry about that. So we'll see. Also, I mean, listen, I don't think it's going to happen, but Somebody here saying, what about AEW going to Amazon? I don't know. If Amazon and WWE were super close on Raw and Amazon got the rug pulled out from under them, maybe they would consider bringing on AEW. So we still got a ways to go. I don't know what any of this means, but I do know that is big financial news for WWE.
Yeah, you know what it means. It means that the stockholders are going to be happy because a whole lot of money got spent, and the length of time that this deal could go is stunning. It really is, whether it's 15 years, 20 years. I mean, that's a significant period of time, but then again, it's also for a significant period, amount of money. And one of the things about joining up with an Amazon is it was, a lot was talked about with that. What would be the pros and cons? Well, one of the things that Amazon probably would want is global rights. Well, we see now the WWE was willing to offer up global rights as it relates to this deal because now Netflix is the global streamer for Raw and is going to become the home for all of the shows that WWE has, including premium live events outside of the United States. So that's kind of a big deal. And, Netflix, we'll see how many people, we'll see what the infrastructure is like and what they decide to do and how they decide to go about marketing Raw and how they decide to go about pushing it. But it is a big deal, and WWE now has its hand on network American television. They have their hand on one of the biggest cable outlets out there in the USA Network, one of the most watched, one of the most visible, one of the longest running. And now they have their hands with a huge media partner in Netflix, which has got 250 million global subscribers, I think is what they tout. So this is a massive deal. This is an absolutely massive deal, and I guess that's really all you can say. How does it affect AEW? Doesn't really affect them at all. And to be honest, with what I just said about how WWE has diversified themselves, if it came down to it, if I'm AEW, I still would rather be on cable television and roll my dice that way than as opposed to being just one of many things under Amazon. So again, that's also a story for another day. They seem to be very secure where they are. They seem to have a great working relationship with WBD, and things, now that this deal is done, that opens up that deal to get done hopefully sooner rather than later, at least, when the NBA deal gets wrapped up.
We also got Rock. He is taking on a new role in WWE. He has been appointed to the board of directors for TKO, and that means a lot of different things. First off, he's going to make about $30 million in stock, and he's also gotten the rights to the name The Rock, which, of course, before he could call himself The Rock and everything like that, but he'd have to pay royalties to WWE. No longer has to do that. He owns The Rock, and that's part of the deal. And he's also a lot of talk about doing a show. And we talked about this on Observer Radio here today. And, everyone was talking about Australia. It's obviously not going to be Australia. But The Rock wants to do WrestleMania. That's the end of the story. It's his final match. He wants to do it on the biggest show, in front of the biggest audience, with the most eyeballs. And the only thing that would prevent, well, there are two things that would prevent it from happening. Number one, he just couldn't do it physically for some reason. Or if, for some reason, Saudi Arabia were able to come up with enough money to make it worth everyone's while. And right now, Saudis are paying about $55-60 million for every Saudi show. So if they were to offer, hey, we'll give you $250 million for The Rock's final match. Well, The Rock's going to do his final match in Saudi Arabia. Now, if they offer $100 million, well, is that worth it? I mean, obviously, that would be a substantial increase over your normal Saudi show. But is that worth it for The Rock, who I don't think wants to do necessarily a retirement match at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a random Saudi Arabian show? So it's going to come down to money. We'll see. But if he had his way, obviously it would be WrestleMania. And it would be this year's WrestleMania, which obviously we've been talking about for a while. What does that mean for everything else? What does that mean for Punk, for Cody? We shall see. but he is now a member of the board of directors.
Huge windfalls of money coming. And you know, what a connection, what a power unit that you got there. And I mean, that's the one thing Endeavor's got going for it, that even though I know there's a lot of wrestling fans that don't care about this stuff, or they're not interested in it, or they hate WWE, but when you look at what Nick Khan, The Rock, whoever else is on that board of directors, I mean, there's some powerful people there. You know, WWE is never have to worry about them probably falling out of first place for your lifetime, no matter how old you are.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
That whole series was absolutely ridiculous. So, like I just said, I now know that Rob's going back to football. He is keeping it under wraps, so I couldn't say anything about it, right? So we're trying to figure out how to do this spot. Rob might have, I can't remember exactly, but he might have told Vince or somebody that, he was going to go back just so they could prepare internally in the company. Anyways, I remember Matt Bloom came up to me, and he had just gotten that. Matt Bloom, the head coach of NXT, who was always a really good friend to me, kind of like a big brother, actually, in addition to being a coach. But he came up to me after the production meeting, and he's like, said something along the lines of, "Oh, Rob's jumping off the top tonight." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he tells me the idea for the spot, and I was like, "No, he's not. Absolutely no, he's not. Are you kidding me? This guy hasn't been trained. He hasn't spent a second inside a ring. You're going to have him jump off the ceiling? Absolutely not." He's like, "Mojo, it's all good. We went out and we got all the 7-footers from NXT. We got every tall person on this entire roster, and he's going to have 30 people catching him. He's going to be fine." And I was like, what if he gets excited and overjumps him? What if someone drops him on his head and he breaks his neck and he misses, out on, like, that's going to be on me. Like, I was like, absolutely not. This is not going to happen. Like, I didn't even know how high the jump was going to be at first. I was just like, Rob's not going to know what to say. He doesn't know how crazy it is here. I have to stand up for my friends. So I'm like talking with Bloom, and I was just like really uneasy about it. They talked to Rob, and Rob's trying to figure it out. We're going through it, and then Vince just pops out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh, it's super simple, He's like, "Watch this," and he literally pulls out his money clip, which, by the way, was fat. He had a lot of cash on him. Hands it to me, gives me his phone. He's like, "Rob, it's just like this." And he takes the stairs up. There's a crash pad on the ground, steps over the rail with absolutely zero hesitation, just jumps to the floor and takes the back bump on the crash pad. Like, when you think about it, that bump is 1,000 times worse than what Rob ended up having to take, because with those 7-footers, by the time they fully extended their arms up, Rob's only fallen like 6 inches, if that, and then he's got 20 people to catch him. Could not have been an easier stunt in the end, but falling all that way onto a crash pad, I mean, yeah, it's a cushion, but you're still falling with a lot of height, and it's not that much give, and it's not like, Vince is 20 years old or something. Gets back up like it was nothing. It's like, "See, it's easy." And I literally looked over at Rob, and I was like, "Well, now you have to do it."
The show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So a couple of things, because people have asked questions. What was the actual Raw increase? Raw did not go from $270 million to $500 million. It did, but we're talking the increase involves the overseas viewership of the show, which is worth, I don't even know what, but back in the day, it was probably, if Raw was worth $100 million in the U.S., it was worth $50 million overseas. And the overseas deals were separate. Well, now they're all going to be one. So the actual increase for Raw here in this country was up maybe 30 to 50%. So it was not nearly doubled. But the entire package, including what they normally would get paid here in the U.S., but also everything overseas, it's all together in this bundle. So if you take the bundle away, it would be about a 30 to 50% increase, I think, depending on who you ask. Stock price at this moment is $90.31. Up $12.90 a share, which is up 16.66%. So if you bought a bunch of WWE stock yesterday, cash out now, brother. Ratings.
Doesn't really work that way, but yeah.
You can. Hey, well, if I bought 1,000 shares at $80 or $78 yesterday, and then it's at 90.31, I could cash out right now, and I would make a lot of money. Can we try and do math? No. Have my broker do it. Ratings. People are like, oh, let's rate it. No, there will be ratings. Sorry. Netflix audience, 247 million subscribers, which is, way more than USA Network.
You know what the interesting thing about the ratings thing is
before we get to that, hold on.
Okay.
The actual Netflix audience is actually, right now, at this exact second, 246,999,999. Because, ironically, I quit Netflix yesterday. Huh.
Well,
I did the exact opposite. I should have bought a bunch of WWE stock yesterday. But then I not only didn't do that, but then now I got to buy Netflix again. But I guess I can wait several months. Yeah. About 70 million in the U.S., by the way, as far as number of people that have Netflix. So not substantially different from USA, TBS, TNT, etc. It's about exactly the same, actually.
23 million subscribers to its advertising tier, which is what this thing is going to be pushed towards. And that's what they're trying to push is, hey, jump on here because we want you to see some ads. And for those people who aren't paying for ads, it's also come out from what Alex Sherman of CNBC reported, you're going to have a fight TV type of atmosphere going on. Now, we'll see if that's the case because as we've seen during premium live events, the pay-per-views, where some people are seeing commercials on Peacock, if you decide to not pay, if you decide to have ad-free, then you're seeing, extended video promos for Lashley or whoever it would be. So we'll see if they decide to go to their own style of commercial or if they decide to hold on the matches and we're going to actually have discussion over long headlocks and battles outside
they're
going to
do
like it's Fight TV.
I'll bet you anything they do the exact same thing they do on Peacock, where if you don't pay for the ad thing, whatever, if you have to see ads, you're going to see commercials, and if you don't, you're going to see video packages for Bobby Lashley, and this and that for 3.5 minutes in between.
Hey, look, and one thing I want to mention about the WWE Network, you said, earlier on, there's going to be a lame duck period here as it stands right now when it comes to 2 months in 2025. To me, you put it on the network because that's NBC Universal. They're paying $1 billion for it, at least they were at one point. That deal is going to be up in March of 2026, and that's the only other chip that you have right now to sell off. And NBC, Universal is going to want to hold on to it. It's going to be a big boost for them. If Raw comes over and people have to watch it on the network for 8 weeks, they're going to like that. And Nick Khan is going to love whatever numbers, they happen to get for that because they're going to want to continue to try to sell this brand to somebody because somebody's going to have to take on the network. And right now, I mean, when it comes to Peacock or any of these other streaming services, what a huge chip this is for WWE to now have the possibility of Netflix picking this up. This is the same thing for the UFC on the other side of TKO. Now, if you're ESPN, you're looking at this, if you're Disney and looking at this and going, okay, now they really are serious about getting into this business because they have. So now are we going to have to pony up a lot more for these UFC shows? Because, again, if they decide they want to take on the network and they look at it as a good deal, What's to maybe stop them from thinking the same thing about the UFC and wanting to bring them on board and wanting to do what ESPN is doing and charging and trying to supplement income that way with pay-per-views? So this all is opening the door now. It's been a lot of speculation, but now this really has opened the door to a new future. A new future, by the way, where you have a lot of older wrestling fans that stabilize the product. When you look at what the average age is for wrestling fans, it's still pretty high up there. That's why the 18 to 49 is so important, because you want to build them young. But now as you move to streaming, where you have a lot of people that go, I don't want to buy this, or I'm not going to invest in this, or it's not that big of a deal to me. It's going to be interesting to see how many people they actually lose when it gets right down to it for Raw.
I would bet not many, because the demos have shifted in the last year. There's a lot less 50-plus watching WWE of late, and there's a lot more 18 to 49. Yeah. And even even older people, they got Netflix. I mean, they're more likely to have Netflix than watching Amazon Prime Video. But
I'd argue that when it comes to the wrestling
right.
fan, I would like for somebody to do some research on that, because you see how set in their ways that a lot of wrestling fans have been, and we know that they can be very set in their ways that way. At least the ones that Nielsen and groups like that have researched. So I wonder a little bit about that when it comes. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, this is great for pushing 18 to 49 numbers, and it's going to be probably pretty wonderful at the end of the day for Netflix, as far as, again, what they're able to do with this thing globally in the next couple of years.
Person wants to know if they're going to provide 4K live streaming. It doesn't matter unless it's filmed in 4K. If they don't upgrade everything to 4K cameras, you could have an 8K TV, you could stream an 8K, it doesn't matter.
I have
if
a
you've
4K
got
TV.
You got a cathode ray television, you ain't watching 1080p raw. Sorry.
It can sometimes it makes things look sharper, the picture. There's things that, it does look better even if you're watching regularly, but I have a 4K TV. I have almost nothing that comes on in 4K other than things that come with, like, the Roku channel and stuff like that. Like, there's one football game, the Detroit game, Fox, is in 4K. For the most part, nothing else is. It's only a thing here or there that actually is. So I think for WWE, like, that is a long way off. Let other people do it first.
First says, has Netflix done live programming before? I think they've started within the last couple of months. But they got time. They got time.
Did they technically do Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock live? I don't know. Maybe like Chris Rock, I think they may have. But again, it's not the same thing.
The Chris Rock special was live.
Okay.
Hey, at the end of the day, everybody's talking about, HBO Max and AEW. And, they were expecting, the pay-per-views to be there or whatever. And I said, well, they don't have the capacity. But, well, I've seen live stuff on there. That's not a live pay-per-view that you pay for. They're working on that, and it very well may be done within a very short period of time. But the ability to do what they want to do is not there yet. Yes, they can do other things that are similar, but not what they want to do, which is you buy a pay-per-view and stream it on Max.
You can't make somebody move as fast as you want them to move. Like WWE... the MLB and the NHL, or was it MLB, BAM networks that came up and have perfected a lot of this stuff. If they don't want to bring on those people, then that's the way it's going to be. We've seen multiple live events stream on Peacock. They've had college football games, their live PD stream, or whatever it's called now, On Patrol Live on Reels, and WWE shows all take place at the same time through that portal, have had no problems whatsoever. I don't know why it's taking so long for WBD to sort some things out, but look at the state of WBD right now, and that probably will tell you a lot of the reason why the technology and their things have not advanced as fast as they've wanted them to, or as a lot of people out there want them to.
Spurs says, Max has infrastructure built now. It's work for baseball and soccer. So there's soccer pay-per-views? You sign up for a pay-per-view to buy one soccer game on Max?
Dominic Jimenez, come on board
I
here.
was unaware of that. Now,
Need his expertise.
if you're talking them airing live, yes, that's different than a pay-per-view. Hey, I'm going to sign up and buy a pay-per-view. They don't have the infrastructure for that yet. They can run a live show. They could run All In, but it would be free for everybody on Max. They don't have the ability for you to buy it as a standalone pay-per-view. That's what they're working on. Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
You're clear. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not pay-per-view for soccer games. It's like Paramount Plus and Apple TV.
Was there ever a plan or ever any, concrete, real plan to have Gronk wrestle a match in WWE?
Yeah, actually. What year was it? It was the year we had the COVID WrestleMania that was in the Performance Center.
36.
Yeah, so that one, Rob was going to come in and we were going to work towards a tag match, actually. And we were going to do this tag match in Boston where he had just, finished playing for the Patriots because SummerSlam was there. And we were kind of talking about who our opponents might be, but we were going to do this match. And, I think it was going to end with some fireworks and me turning on him, setting up a one-on-one match in Saudi, actually. And we had like this really cool storyline in place. And Rob was all in on it. He was ready to go. He was going to make this his full-time thing, which I always thought was awesome because I know how much money that would have cost him giving up other opportunities. I know what he would have made here, and I know what he makes on the outside, and he would have lost a ton of money to do this, but he was so jacked up about it. And, we were sitting there. I want to say it might have been like the week before. Anyways, his phone started blowing up with his agent calling and Tom Brady calling. And we're at, I think it was SmackDown at the time. And Tom told him that he was going back to football, that he was going to the Bucks, and he should consider coming out of retirement. And I think Rob had like $10 million on his contract for that year if he went back and, starting over fresh, fully healed. It was kind of a no-brainer for him. Of course, they went on to win the Super Bowl that year, so he absolutely made the right decision. But had to that Tom Brady not ruined it, we would have had a real cool storyline for maybe that year.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Hey, if you want the full Raw report, Observer Radio last night. Not doing it. I'm not even sure we'll do the full TV reports on Observer Live anymore. They're on all of the subscription shows, WrestlingObserver.com. Just talk about the big stories from the show, which we will do here in a moment.
I'm all for this.
But first off, Monthly Pro Res in Japan reported that Kazuchika Okada was WWE bound. Dom, can I get a drop of Okada calling himself Kazuchika Okada that I could just hit a button and it'll play every time I say his name? It reported that he was WWE bound, claiming NXT first. Reporting it came from someone close to top talent in New Japan. Now,
Close to top talent?
at this moment, nothing has changed officially. And according to those who are close to Okada, he is not signed with WWE.
And he's got beautiful hair.
He is not signed with AEW. And I got to get this out of the way first, because if I have to do this one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Because I've talked about this before. I don't get why people don't understand this. There is nothing wrong with Okada going to NXT first. Nothing, okay? Listen. There's so many reasons to send him to NXT. Not one of them is to teach him how to work, okay? Okada, if he came to WWE, would be moving to America. And he would likely move to Florida, which is where the vast majority of the WWE talent lives, including his good friend Shinsuke Nakamura, who I'm sure has politely asked him to come to WWE if possible. Okay? Now, have you ever moved to another country? Anybody? Okay. You want to move to another country and immediately go on the road 4 days a week or whatever? Bro, there's so many things that go into moving to another country. And there's nothing better when you move to another country than to move and have plenty of time to do everything you need to do. And in the meantime, show up for work once a week on Tuesday locally, okay? There's a lot of stuff that has to get done. When he's there locally, listen, I think it's stupid to have to find the hard cam, but you know what? They want you to find the hard cam. I'm sure it would take him 3 days to figure it out, but they're going to want to show him some things that they want to do. Not, hey, you don't throw a lariat right, buddy. Hey, can we work on your drop kick, Mr. Okada? Nothing like that.
He has never worked WWE television before. There are production things. There are signals. There's all of those sorts of
He's
things.
He's got to teach old Lee Filling how to do that Okada pose Zoom thing. Okay? Listen. Every single wrestler who moved here from another country all did this.
Like who?
Asuka.
Yeah.
Io Shirai. Gunther.
Nakamura.
They all did it.
El Generico.
I've never heard one of them say anything negative about that experience or that part of the job. Let me tell you something, guys.
All right.
If he goes to WWE, he's going to be making $2 million a year or more.
Wow.
Okay? You guys think they're going to leave him down there for... Stop! He's going to be there for a short period of time.
He almost said a year and then thought
to
in his
get
mind
himself
it could be a year.
settled here in this country, get everything that needs to be done, learn a couple of things, and then he will go to the main roster, and it would be okay. So stop it.
Okada.
Now more.
Yes.
He could go to AEW.
What?
He could. He could go to AEW.
Yeah.
He could go to WWE.
Well, that's either one of those two places makes the most sense. Yes.
I will tell you where he will not go.
Where's that?
He will not be in the Royal Rumble on Saturday.
No.
Unless they've swung some crazy deal.
They have not.
Okay?
I almost guarantee that.
So he won't be in the Royal Rumble for those of you that are expecting that. His deal is not up until January 31st, and he has agreed to a couple of February dates. So wherever he goes, it will not be this weekend.
I hope he's in Arena Mexico at least once. Just once.
Good.
Haven't seen him there in a long, long time. He was there once. That was before he became the Rainmaker. Fun times those days.
What if Okada got NXT over 1 million viewers? Well, honest to God, he might. There's a decent chance.
Brian, this is one of those...
But he ain't going to stay there.
Think about this. we won't necessarily know. As it stands right now, we're probably not going to know from week to week what the Raw number is. We're probably going to get a total of hours or something like that every month or every quarter.
Well, Nielsen's going to start tracking, so it should be virtually exactly the same.
Okay, because
by the end of 2025, yes.
But it's possible, again, depending on what happens, because we don't know what the number is going to be with them moving over to streaming. We have an idea of what the number of SmackDown is going to be moving back to USA Network. But we really don't know when it comes to the CW and NXT what they're going to draw. We know AEW right now is always around about 800,000, between 8 to 900,000 in that range. There is probably going to be a freaky week that takes place where CW and NXT is the most watched program in all of professional wrestling for that week. Whether SmackDown gets moved for some reason or something like that, I could see there being a point because of the way things are and the reach that CW has, that they could actually have NXT could be technically the number one program for that week.
Hey, by the way, for subscribers, WrestlingObserver.com, Dave and I, besides doing Raw, did a long segment on what AEW could do to increase ticket sales and what each side could learn from the other. And we were talking about how this coming, Wednesday's Dynamite not doing well. They're at 1,700 tickets for Dynamite right now, at this second. 1,700 tickets.
Yeah. Guess what?
That's bad.
It's not going to get any better. For the most part, Huntsville, Alabama, 1,200 people. That's on February 28th. New Orleans coming up this next Dynamite. I mean, it just Collision. None of these numbers look good, with the exception of what they're doing right now, I guess, for Vancouver, that May 11th Collision that they have there. I mean, all of these numbers look, as it stands right now, very, very rough. And again, people can have their ideas on what needs to be done or anything like that. The biggest thing is get hot, and the biggest thing is try to establish some stars that people want to go out and spend money on to go see.
All right. Then actually, you know what? I think that TNA pay-per-view this past Saturday, I think, is outdrawn this Dynamite. So...
And that, at first, that didn't look like that was going to do good numbers, and then they started to, I guess, increase late there. It's...
Well, hold on, Jingo. It's not... yes, there are smaller venues, but this, you could easily get 4,000 people in this building, and they're at 1,700.
The problem is,
it's not like they're running a 2,000-seat building.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was 2,500 people or if it was a 10,000-seat building. The problem is they're only drawing 1,700. Like, that's bad. And the fact that they go back to places and they don't do well is bad. And the fact that they can't put people in large arenas that they book, like, that's bad. I don't care how you cut it. It doesn't matter. That's not good.
All right, everyone asking about Mercedes. I cannot confirm that Mercedes is signed with AEW. But I talked about her going to AEW a while ago, and I believe very strongly that she is going to AEW. I also believe that it is not imminent. I believe that I think they're probably going to get through this pay-per-view, and then we will see the debut of Mercedes. It could come earlier, but I would not expect her to be in the Royal Rumble Saturday. I would expect that she is pretty much going to AEW. So that's the update on her.
They definitely have room for surprises, though, don't they? 4 women have been announced this week.
I will tell you this. Well, yeah, the Royal Rumble. But I will tell you this. I would think that by the time Mercedes debuts, it will not be a surprise. I think it's going to be abundantly clear when and where she is debuting. And you probably could do a little bit of research, and I won't even need to say any more. All right. Yes, the Royal Rumble, there are 4 women announced for a 30-woman. There's a lot of argument yesterday. Some people are on the old X going, man, this Raw was an awesome go-home show for the Rumble. Even Dave said it was a great show. And I didn't think... Listen, the Cody segment with CM Punk was great, okay? But at the end of the day, was I more excited for the Royal Rumble going out than I was going in? No. Do you guys realize that the pay-per-view is the Royal Rumble? And at this exact moment, of the 30 individuals in each Rumble, okay, and add them together, of the 60 people that are going to be in the Royal Rumble, we know 11.
Somebody do the percentage count on that and add
The
it to
Royal Rumble,
videos
can I
that were
repeat
aired.
myself? The Royal Rumble is Saturday. We know 7 of 30 men and 4 of 30 women. I'm sorry. I'm not super excited. Cody, Punk, Shinsuke, Lashley, Drew, Gunther, and Damian. Those are the men in the 30-man Rumble. That's going to be a lot of downtime. Those
That's
2-minute
18
intervals where nobody comes to the ring.
Only 18.3% of the competitors have been announced for this Rumble.
And
They
for the
gotta add
women-
that to the package.
For the women, it is Bayley, Nia, Becky, and Bianca. 4 of 30.
I demand a lot of surprises.
Okay?
I'm excited.
Of the main card. Of the main card of the Royal Rumble. We have a whopping 2 matches announced for the show this Saturday. 2. Roman Reigns versus LAAJ and Randy Orton. Which, if you watch SmackDown, I could not possibly care less about this 4-way. They made you want to see a one-on-one match with Roman and Orton. But, we're not getting that. And we have Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. So can someone explain to me...
They did a good job doing that.
Can someone on X explain to me why this was such an awesome go-home show?
Oh, Brian.
And why you are so excited for the Royal Rumble as opposed to how excited you were before the Royal Rumble? People are going, well, people like surprises. Well, there were more surprises before, Rob, because less people had declared. So shouldn't you have been more excited before? I don't get it, brother. The surprises are the best part of the Royal Rumble. Yeah, I'm sure they are, but you know what? You're telling me that we're going to get 26 female surprises? No. We'll get maybe 4. Actually, with the women, maybe 7. But the point is, it's going to be all the women you know are going to be in it. Zoe's going to be in it.
I remember earlier
Not
on this
Charlotte.
week when I talked about, hey, I so there are some years where it's like it's tough, and you chastised me and started screaming. I'd always have, I never go into a Royal Rumble with low expectations. Who would want to do that? Now listen to yourself.
What are you
Listen
talking
to
about?
yourself.
I don't
Oh
even
my
know what you're
God.
talking about.
Of course
Are you
know.
speaking English?
No, I gotta go.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live.
What was your reaction to that? Because that's something where I was like, this is crazy that this is happening right now.
I'd love to call that a behind-the-scenes moment, but it wasn't. It was right there, wide out in the open. But that is one of my favorite off-the-wall things to happen in wrestling during my entire career, mostly because of who that lady is. Lisa is her name, and she is an absolute badass. I mean, there are a lot of big burly men that are security guards and protect the wrestlers over there at WWE, but I think every single one of them would agree that Lisa was absolutely the toughest. I mean, she wasn't the biggest by any means, but man, she was not afraid to just dive into something. And hearing her tell that story afterwards about knowing that's Rob Gronkowski and he's 8 times her size, but having no hesitation, regardless of who it was, to put her health out of the way and dive in there to protect us, just mauling Gronk right from the get-go. Oh my goodness. What a think about that for a second. Think about who Rob is and what he's capable of and physically what he can do. And this small lady just diving in there and jacking him up. That was the funniest thing in my head the whole time. I was like, I can't wait to just destroy Rob later for this, about how she jacked him up. But we let her know that it was kind of, bringing Rob in was kind of a last minute thing. I had heard that I was going to be going over in the Andre, and I was super thrilled about that. I think they had kind of built that storyline to that over a course of maybe like a month leading in. And, we're trying to think of ways to punch it up. And we had this idea to bring Rob in. Rob, always wanted to do something with me over at WWE, and this was just the perfect time. So it just made sense, but it was just kind of thrown together last minute, which is crazy for these outside athletes and celebrities. They're not used to just this entire thing, this global spectacle being dumped on their lap with like a half an hour heads up or day of kind of thing. And yeah, we put it together that day, and it was so last second. No one told security. No one told anyone else that was associated with the show. And yeah, then that's what happens.
I see what you blokes are talking about. You're confused. I didn't say I don't care about the Royal Rumble. I'm going to have fun watching the Royal Rumble. Mark is coming over. We're going to do a show together. It's going to be fun. What I said was, I was no more interested coming out of Raw than I was going in. It did not make me more interested than I already was in the Royal Rumble. So that tells me that it wasn't a great go-home show.
And this comes
Do
from
you understand?
The extension of the arguments you have that both Raw and last Friday's SmackDown, in comparison to what AEW does, you much prefer
Yes.
on a regular basis. You believe that AEW does it better
Yes.
than WWE.
Yes, and you know what?
I would disagree with that somewhat, and I would say it's a lot more of a wash than you would think.
I don't think so, because I see this
I think
every
for their
single
fans,
time.
it is.
I see it every single time. All these people go, I'm not buying the show this time. I'm not buying the show. Why haven't they announced any matches? All disappointed. Show doesn't seem like it's going to be all that great. And then that go-home show happens, and they're like, oh, my God, I cannot wait for World's End. And they go all nutty.
Is that more of an indictment of the lead-up and the build to these shows?
I don't know, but I know.
Right 1 week?
I didn't hear yesterday when the show was over, oh, my God, Royal Rumble is now a can't miss. Before, I was going to skip it. But because of Raw, I will now buy the pay. I didn't hear one person say that. Not one. Zero. Zilch. Hey, are we out of time yet? You know what we didn't do today? The world-famous Raw Report.
We didn't.
Go listen to Observer Radio for that. Sign up at Observer.com, WrestlingObserver.com.
Hey, you get a preview of the Observer, too, by the way. Dave already has
Dave
written
did a
about this.
huge article about everything. We did a breaking news audio today. WrestlingObserver.com, video.f4wonline.com. And I'll see you later tonight. Wrestling Observer Live.